What is going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in for another one. This is a special one, and we have a fun announcement. We are finally dropping podcasts. This is going to be the first one, but if you want to be following along with these podcasts, you're going to have to go over to our new YouTube channel called Just Hunt Podcast. You can find all of them there. We're going to be dropping them weekly. You can also find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. These are going to be a weekly thing, and along with the podcasts on the new channel, we're going to have some more informational gear type videos, just kind of a different feel from the hunt. So we wanted to bring you guys something and have something that you could be part of. So with that being said, drop us some comments below on what you'd like to see, maybe guests you'd like to see on the podcast, and we're going to be rolling them out every week. So we appreciate you guys. We're excited about the new venture. I think there's a lot that we can tap into that we don't get to really hit on this channel. So Just Hunt Podcast, head over, follow it, and hopefully you guys enjoy this first one.
Welcome to the Just Hunt Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Just Hunt Podcast. I'm Brett Joy. I'm here with Intern Matt, as we call him, but what is your actual name? Because that's what it's saved in my phone as.
My name is Matt Messier.
There we go.
AKA Intern Matt.
Yep. Matt's no longer an intern, but he's doing the podcast with us. We have been toying with this idea for a while and transparently trying to do it for a while. We just haven't really made it a priority until now. Our idea with this podcast is to show a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we can't show in a 20 to 40-minute video on YouTube. There's a lot of context and a lot of good information and stuff like that gets left out of our videos. We thought we had a lot more to share, and this is a platform that will allow us to break that down, go into more detail, answer questions. We get a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries. This is the place for that. So we're going to do our best to tell good stories and keep people updated on what we're doing and show some of that behind the scenes stuff, but also try to, share the information that we learn doing what we do. We spend a lot of time in the woods and a lot of different places, and we think we have a fair amount to share, and maybe somebody or you can take something away from this. So that's kind of the idea of the podcast. We're going to get rolling today. We have our first guest, Mr. John Lewis, the founder of JUSTHUNTCLUB, and he's here with us today. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Hello. Past intern John Lewis.
What's that, intern John? Yeah, you were an intern one time. That's how I came to know you.
Yeah.
So I guess what's
11 years ago, Brett.
Was it? Yeah, long time ago, huh?
Yeah, back when you were in your 30s.
I'm still in my 30s. Thank you very much. Not by a lot, but I still got at least another year plus. So, John, do you want to, maybe we can talk about the evolution of Just Hunt Club and how it started. For those that don't know and are wondering how we came about to where we're at today, you're a great person to talk about that because you're the guy that kind of made it happen.
Well, I mean, it's a collective of all of us. It's not a very crazy story, but it started really 11 years ago. Like I was saying, I used to work at Midwest Whitetail, and I edited the East Show, which I grew up on the East Coast. So it was pretty cool to be working with people that had, similar experiences as I did growing up hunting on the East Coast. And I think you and Ross were our developmental pro staff that first year, right?
Yeah.
That probably. I was an intern?
I think so, yeah.
And you guys sent in that really sweet video. I actually have it. We'll drop it right
Do you
here.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
please put that out. That is the most embarrassing
video. I have
video
it saved
ever.
On my computer as the best video ever. Because it looks like you and Ross both have like cherry red lipstick on. You may have had some hair.
Yeah, probably not.
Ross looked like he just got done plowing and
Eating his breakfast off a
doing
mirror.
Ross things.
I'm Ross Robers, born and raised in southern New Hampshire.
I'm Brett Joy, born and raised in southern New Hampshire. So I've been doing this hunting mature bucks for, I think, 6 years now. I've been very successful.
This is my second year. My first year I harvested mature doe, as well as Pope and young whitetail.
So I think it would be a great addition. We work well together. We actually live together, so and have similar schedules with work. So hopefully you consider us, Mr. Bill Linke.
But yeah, no, we kind of hit it off through Midwest whitetail, and then I worked there for a couple of years, got into the waterfowl scene, and I was editing a bunch of videos for Cabela's Northern Flight.
And hosting.
What's that?
And hosting.
Yeah. Yep. So that was from 2014, and I lived out there. I moved back to the East Coast in spring of 2017, and we did. I think you guys were still doing stuff with Midwest Whitetail, but we did some turkey content.
Yeah.
Just subcontract turkey content, which is funny when we look back on what we sold a series for turkey videos for. Was silliness, but that was a lot of fun. And then we did a couple projects. Real Tree Sea Bucks was a big one, and that was really our like light bulb of like, oh wow, we can pull some of this stuff off in the Northeast. And then it kind of coincided with COVID, where we lost all of the contracts, but we had been doing all this other stuff, so we're like, let's just bring it all in house and do it ourselves.
Yep.
And that's where Just Hunt Club was born in
So
2020.
you had I know there's a couple of videos on the channel. The first ones was kind of predated that. So when was that? Was that like the previous year before that post Seabucks era?
What's that?
There's a few videos on the channel like waterfowl, and I think like a fishing one from before that. Before we made like kind of a push and really dove into it.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? Was that like when
So
did you actually make that the Just Hunt Club channel?
We made the Just.
Well, it wasn't
so
even
it
called
started
that, was
off
it?
It was Just Hunt Ducks.
Yeah.
So we had like leftover videos that we didn't use for the Northern Flight series, and we just edited them up and threw them on there. It was just like a fun thing for us to do.
Yeah.
So then but like a couple of them did pretty well. So like we got to like that monetization pretty quick. So when we started Just Hunt Club, we were like, well, let's just use that platform because it's already started. We're already monetized. And then we changed it because we don't just hunt ducks. It was very limiting. But we kept that Just Hunt Cup or Just Hunt deal, and then just added club to it, which throws a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we're not really a hunting club, which is like a big Southern thing.
Yeah.
But we're in the Northeast. We don't have hunting clubs in the Northeast. We have like deer camps.
Right.
I mean, I guess there is some, but it's not like as heavy as it is down south.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So then we started
So that would have
and-
been 2017. We put the first videos up.
Okay. So it was 17. So it was like almost 3 years before we actually
Used it.
Interesting.
2017 or 2018.
Yeah. I remember that first video that we put on after. And it was that South Dakota video of that buck I killed. And it was like a really good video.
This is going to be easy.
Yeah, we're like, oh, this is easy. We went to South Dakota and killed big giant. He's right there, big deer on September 1st, and we're like, thing did
Video
good.
did well.
did great. It ripped. We're like, this is gonna be cake. And then the next several videos did not underperformed
we were surprised
to our expectations. So
Is it the velvet one down there?
it's the hard-horn one right there. Yeah.
To the left of it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I think we came into the game like right when everyone was coming into the game. Like there was already enough people established that were kind of like pulling everything, and we just kind of rode those coattails, which I still like get mad. Like, why didn't we do this 3 years earlier?
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing I think is like we didn't come in at the perfect time, but we didn't come in at a bad time, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like if we had waited another year or two, like, man, it's so hard, I feel like, unless you're like literally trying to be a video and view subscriber factory to grow on YouTube right now. It's like really, you have to like, it's hard, especially in like the hunting world.
Yeah.
It's just like becoming so saturated, and we're lucky enough to jump in right at kind of the point where it wasn't completely saturated, but it was getting there and got some traction. But I think it's pretty hard for guys starting right now.
Connections and contacts.
Yeah.
Throughout the industry, because we had been working in it for multiple years.
Yeah.
It was just we were creating everything and handing it off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't our own brand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So why don't you talk about the brand and what, like, you know, I think people are probably watching this, they're familiar with us, but like what is the what's the goal or the mission statement of Just Hunt Club from the founder himself, Mr. John Lewis?
Yeah. Didn't you know Chris and you founded this?
Who?
I said Chris and you.
Oh, that's right. Some Canadian lady.
I mean, I think it's just to show light to the Northeast and people that just like hunting, you know, like we have such a strong culture of hunting in this part of the country, and it's never been shown. I shouldn't say it's never been shown. It's never been shown in the light that we're trying to show it. You know,
right.
like
I don't think that
we have big deer. We have adventure that you can find out west.
Yeah.
We have all the things that are across the country. It's just a different way of being successful. It's harder to be successful. And we have a super deep hunting culture in the Northeast. I mean, we have the most hunters in the country.
Yeah.
But there's no content out of here.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of the baseline of it, is to show like, hey, we exist over here, you know?
Yeah. There
it's
is
not just
up there hunting.
Ohio, Iowa, the Midwest, which are great places. I love hunting them. They're awesome.
Yeah.
But those deer exist everywhere.
I know that my brother and I started watching like around Seabuck's time, like whenever that was, 2019, 2020. And it was kind of eye-opening for me because I didn't realize like the caliber of deer that existed in New England, and specifically like New Hampshire. We're close to home, but just hunting shows that I always watched growing up are so saturated. It's just mostly Midwest stuff. You don't get to see large antler deer. Killed close to home was kind of cool to me. I was like, oh, these guys are.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it was, for me, it was, back in the beginning, like, I don't even know that. I mean, I'm making generalizations, and we say that, like, it's never been done, or no one, it's been done a time or two on it, one-off type things, and we recognize that, and that's great. But I guess what we're saying is, like, to consistently film and tell stories in the Northeast the way that we do, with the production level we do, with the class of animals that we do, I don't think has really been done in the past. And so that's kind of what we mean by that. I mean, and that's not to downplay anybody else's videos I'm not saying that at all. Like, there's some great videos out there of people shooting big deer in the Northeast. I just don't know that there's anybody with the consistency and longevity that we've had. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to do, is, I'm going to say to prove, but to say, hey, we can do this and we can get it. But to be honest with you, before Seabucks, I didn't even know if we could. Like that was a big fear of
we
mine.
had a lot of conversations talking about wanting to do this, even when I was still living in Iowa.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh man, like, I don't know if we can go a whole season and not have a video of a kill. Like, how do we make that into a business?
I think also since then, we've just become more successful hunters. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's easy to say since we've done it, but when you look at like our track record and our success the last, 3 to 5 years, it's substantially better than it was, the 3 to 5 years previous to that. So I just think we're probably better hunters and more experienced and know how to get it done. And not only get it done, but get it done with the camera guy, which is a whole different aspect of it. It's hard enough around here, never mind with the camera guy. So, I think that it was cool the Seabucks year to have done it and to prove that we could do it. And then we just have kept doing it. So it's like, okay, I remember one of the big thing was like, like back in the day when we hadn't done, I'm like, can we even kill turkeys on video? Like, is that possible? And it's like, oh yeah, we can kill turkeys on video. That's no problem. Okay, cool. And then I was like, are we sure we can? We did it like one year, but it's like, yeah, no, we can kill, we do it over and over again. And it's like, okay, this is achievable and we can do it. But it's kind of like anything really. You don't know if you can do it and if it hasn't been done. So, you just got to push the boundary. And I think that's what we've done. And now I'm just like, honestly, it's tough for me to believe like how many successful hunts and stories we've told in the Northeast over the past 5 years or so.
Crazy.
It's like, what the heck? We're killing as many deer as anybody really, so, having successful waterfowl hunts and turkey hunts as well. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to do, and maintain the level of like production that we have, which is obviously a whole nother battle that we take pride in the quality of our content and our footage and, the stories that we tell. So,
yeah, I think it'd be interesting hearing from Matt on his kind of take on this year and like seeing it from the outside, if he's been watching since we pretty much started to being kind of immersed in the whole process of it. Like, what did you think? Like,
that's a good question.
Thoughts and
what did you think going in? What surprised you?
Way worse than you thought we were?
Yeah. What's that's a good question.
Well, my first experience with JUSTHUNTCLUB was being in a truck with Chris Dame for 7 hours driving to New York to turkey hunt.
So we're way worse than you thought we were.
So Chris and I got real close real quick. He's telling me all about his love life and things that were going on at the time. But no, so it's a very different mix of people. Like, everybody's got their own things going on outside of this for the most part. Like, I know, John, you're full-time, Cody's full-time, but everybody else, it was a lot more. I guess I didn't realize how busy people were during the hunting season and still are able to balance and everything like that. Rut week was pretty much mid-November. That week is the only time that people take a full vacation away from work. Other than that, it's like balancing, running back and forth between work and spending time with family, or something happened here with the kids tonight, I got to be home, I can't hunt, whatever. So
did you think that we spent more time like off and in the woods and hunting than we do?
Yeah.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's something that people don't realize. Like, people always, and I hunt a lot, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't, but I don't think people realize how little I do hunt and like how I pick, like I plan and I pick these, and we're all like this to an extent, we plan and we pick these like scenarios and dates, and it's we don't hunt that much really, like overall. Like, we hunt more than probably the average guy, but it's not like we're literally like in the woods like for 3 weeks straight, or like, that's not what this is. And I think that that's another thing we've been able to do a really good job of balancing that, because we have to. And that's and even before this, I grew up, I was hunting like that before. I have a little more time with my schedule now for work, a little more flexibility. But like before I didn't, and I still had like weekends and weekdays. So I was doing the same thing before I was married, before I had kids. So I've just always had that outlook and that approach to hunting, and it served me well, and it serves well for this. The other thing is, like, you know, if you're hunting every single day, we have to have a camera guy now for every single day. So it's like 2 people. So I try to maximize my time and, you know, our resources time as well. And so does everybody else.
Yeah, I had some, given that I was so close, definitely had some quick turnarounds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like the other day.
Yeah, like, and just going back to maximizing time, like we just got back from a trip to Ohio, successful trip to Ohio. We were there. It was like five days. We hunted one day.
Yeah.
Capitalized on the one day, and then that was it. But yeah, a lot of back and forth and a lot of traveling around, seeing new places for me. So it's been cool.
Did anything surprise you about the hunting style at all? Did you learn, or is there anything that you learned a lot that you like, oh, that's the biggest thing I learned or I realized, or anything like that?
I mean, in terms of hunting style, I think I was part of pretty much every thing you could have done or you could do in the woods. Short of I didn't participate or wasn't there for the deer drives out in New York, but that's the only thing that I really haven't done before. But other than that, we tracked in the snow, we still hunted in the rain. Yeah. Sat in a tree for 60 hours with Ross, trying to keep him under control. Kind of did all of it, but
bow hunted in Canada.
Yeah, bow hunted in Canada for 10 days. I didn't realize the extent. It's easier when you hunt the same places year after year, but using historical data based on time and place, and like for example, we were when Ross and I were still hunting, walking around the swamp right at the base of the new cut, and it was just absolutely shredded from October time with old scrapes. And he's like, we scouted this 2 years ago, and it was never like this. So yes, historical data is super important, but also understanding that things change just based on factors that are outside of our control.
Yeah. And that's something I've been really trying to stay on top of too, is just because something was like that last year or the year before doesn't mean it's a constant. So I'm always trying to adapt. I have the tendency to figure something out and being like, all right, shut the door on it and put it in my back of my mind and just have it as a constant, but that's not how things work. So, I mean, sometimes they do, but you have to revisit that, just kind of that. Because I remember scouting that. I've scouted that swamp previously too, before Ross and I did, and there wasn't any activity. So when he told me, I was like, oh, something's changed over there. So
yeah.
But that's a new cut, probably for why a new cut there, big giant cut. Mass crop can do that. A bunch of different things, pressure. So,
but I guess just to highlight one thing that kind of surprised me is just the ability to adapt.
We adapted pretty well in Wisconsin, didn't we, Matt?
We did, yes. Went from one briar patch to another, and
we changed entire game species we were hunting, and then still failed.
We actually changed twice, because we went from deer to squirrels. And then as we tucked our tail and we're walking back to the truck. Flock of doves flew through, and then Eric decided to throw every bullet.
Eric started shooting at him.
Are we ever going to see any content from that trip, John?
Probably Eric face planting into the creek.
That was good.
That'll probably be about it.
Yeah, it was peak athleticism.
When my season started like that, I was like, this is going to be a long freaking fall.
Well,
yeah, that was for me. Yeah. For me, that was after being in Alberta for 10 days, and the only deer we saw, or the only buck I saw, was a 1.5 years old. So, that was a tough couple of weeks to start it off.
Well, so it started. Well, that's a good way to roll, because we kind of want to summarize the season a little bit on this one. Started with Henry and Chris and Kyle, and you were with them. That was unsuccessful. For how long were you there? Was it 10 days?
We were supposed to be there for 7. Henry kept seeing Torch, which is this massive non-typical. That what does he score now? Probably like
190, something like
he's
that. Real big.
a
Whatever.
boner.
Yeah.
I hope Torch gets hit by a car.
By coyotes.
How many times has he been shot by a member of Just Hunt Club?
He's
Or shot
been
at?
shot once. He's been
3
shot
times
at
total?
twice. I shot at him. Henry shot at him. I don't know. Maybe someone else did, but
Yeah.
I know of 2.
But anyway, we were seeing that deer almost on a daily basis, but it was just a matter of trying to kill him. But Chris and I were hunting a different giant 8 that was still in velvet. There were 2 stands. One was good for a north wind, one was good for a south wind. They were about 80 yards apart. And over the 10 days that we were there, that deer walked in daylight by the opposite trail camera, by the opposite stand 3 or 4 times, I think. So we eventually,
kept hunting him.
yeah. So
He's still there.
Yeah.
Still walking that trail and all the others.
Mm-hmm.
So you're there for 10 days. No success there. No success in Wisconsin. We had a Maine trip, expanded archery, unsuccessful. Was there any other early trips that anybody took? I don't know. We started off pretty slow. And then John had opening day in New York, and then that kind of turned it all around, huh?
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. It was fun.
yeah, while we were in Wisconsin, we were just looking at your trail camera every day and beating your head off the wall because that thing was daylighting at the apple tree every
I mean, I
night
couldn't
without
have
fail.
hunted them anyway, but it was just like, he showed up in end of July and like just kept doing the same dang thing. And I was just like, just keep doing it, buddy. Just keep doing it, buddy. Just keep doing it. And it was
Usually they don't, though. That's the thing.
No,
But he did.
no.
At least for one day. That's all you needed.
Right. And it was like a week and a half before opener, and a bear ripped my camera off the tree. And I was like,
You
all
didn't
right,
want to go in there and fix it. Well, really at that point, it's like, well, what are you going to do? You're either going to hunt it or
it
not.
was
So didn't matter.
just a spot that's like, when it sets up the way it did this year, it's probably going to be deadly every year. And I found it 4 years ago, but it hasn't, or it's set up really good to kill one up there early, but I've always, when it was setting up good for that, I was waterfowl hunting.
Yeah.
So I was doing all the Cabela stuff. So this year was the first year it set up perfect, and I was around to actually hunt. So,
And I think it takes it also takes spots like that, which is a great spot, but it's not going to be good every year, right? You're not going to have the right deer
Right.
there. You're not going to have the mass crop. You may not have the weather and the winds that you need during the right period. That's what I see a lot. Like I've had great spots or, I anticipated being able to hunt a deer in a particular area based on, last year and this and whatever, but then it gets to that time period and it's like hot and warm or whatever is happening, and it just isn't going down there because of the weather, or we have all east winds, and it's like you can't hunt them there. It's like it's not going to work, so you got to wait and wait and wait. So we find these really good spots, but that doesn't mean that every year they're going to produce the same. It takes like several different factors to be come into play to make the hunt that you had, right? Like, and this year was that year.
And I remember telling you in the summer, like, when I went up there and hung cameras and everything, I was like, this is like perfect.
Yeah.
What was in the bottom for food, what was up high for food, and it was just like a little hole.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is going to work this year.
Yeah, so you killed the biggest deer of your life, right? Yeah?
Nah, second.
Really?
New Hampshire still holds the title.
Is that really? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty damn close.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest bow buck.
Yeah.
I consider him my biggest deer because of the accomplishment.
It's the most meaningful.
I mean, it wasn't nearly as easy as New Hampshire.
That's right. It's your most meaningful, though. Okay, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
For sure. I mean, it's the only deer I've ever killed that I had like history with.
Yeah.
That I knew the year prior and hunted them all year last year and then killed them.
And you were right on them last year,
So,
definitely, particularly in October, I remember, in early November.
Yeah, we saw them, I think it was November 2nd.
Gotcha.
But we were on them pretty good all October.
So then you decided to go to PA.
Well, you killed.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, right?
I think it was just the day before, though.
Nobody's seen that yet.
Yeah, no one's seen that yet. But, yes, I killed a really nice deer in New York on my farm, new farm that I bought within the last year or so.
I actually forgot about
that. Which is really cool. That was an awesome hunt for me. Just seeing everything come together, lots of hard work. We talk about like the different hunting styles and that was the typical, manage private land, food plot, like let deer go, like manipulate the habitat and, the movement. And like, it was that to a T. And so I had that whole experience. I think it's probably like the first time I've actually had that legitimate, like full experience with that, which is kind of neat. And I know a lot of people don't prefer that style, but I think it's really rewarding. And I enjoy that. I enjoy working. I love land. I've always wanted to own land since I was younger. That's kind of like my favorite thing. And obviously hunting lends itself to that, or that lends itself to hunting, I should say. So that was really a cool experience. It was a deer that Kyle and I had passed the year before as a 4-year-old. I remember I passed him late muzzleloader and then to December, and then we killed him on October 23rd or 4th. When did you kill, John? Do you remember? I think it was 23rd, 24th when I killed. I killed the day before.
I think you killed the 24th.
24th, yeah, that makes sense. So that was a great way to start it off. New Hampshire was kind of like, I don't know, I hunted a couple times, like probably 4 times before that. We hunted a couple hanging hunts with the trophy line hyperlight saddles.
Shot some bears.
Oh, that's right. We shot bears. Yeah, I shot a bear. Ross shot a bear. Kyle shot a bear.
You killed him the 24th.
I killed the 24th. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I killed the 25th.
Yeah. So then you killed in PA, which is another just stud of a deer, which was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I mean, to kill those 2 deer, both on public land, both that big, with a bow, the same month, it's pretty freaking wild.
Was that your first sit in PA too?
What's that?
Was that your first sit in PA?
So PA was a special thing. When I killed that, I've hunted PA in the past. I grew up in PA. But I killed that buck October 1st in New York, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And PA season hadn't even opened. So I reached out to Steve Shirk. We had talked to him at HuntStand. And I was just kind of picking his brain, like, hey, what would be the best time to come out, yada, yada, yada. And kind of planned everything off of weather systems. So we had a good front coming in.
Steve's really big on, well, we are too, but Steve's super big on those weather systems, right, John?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, October is like his favorite time to hunt. He thinks, the best time to hunt is that last week and a half, 2 weeks of October. And it proved to be pretty dang true. So Cody and I went out. We were going to scout a bunch of stuff, hang some cameras, kind of set ourselves up for that last week of October. We went out, talked to Steve, and he's like, all right, you're coming out. Hey, there's been this buck. Go up in there and just hunt him. Get out here, hunt him the first evening, and then, we'll scout the whole next day and hang cameras or whatnot. So we get there, meet Steve, BS a little bit. We go to the spot, and we're climbing up into the tree. I think it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock at the latest. I'm putting my last stick on it, and I look up, and that buck that had been in there just comes cruising by like 45 yards from us. It might probably even closer. Never got any footage of him. I'm like, well, that's pretty crazy. This is like October 16th. Buck running through at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we sit the rest of that night, hunt the next morning, see a couple deer, nothing that we wanted to shoot. And then we scout, hang a bunch of cameras, and then come back to New York. And we have another system coming in like the next week and a half, 10 days after that. And we're heading out there to hunt this spot that we had found. We had a real nice buck show up. And I'm on my way out, and Steve calls me. I call Steve, and he's like, you should go up into this spot. And I'm like, no. Like, send your guys up there. I feel really confident in where we scouted. Like, we're going to head there. And he's like, all right. And like 20 minutes goes by. Steve calls me again. He's like, you should really go up into that spot. And I was like, okay. If Steve Shirk's telling me to go up into a spot, I'm going to go up into that spot. So we get there at like 11, and we go right in. And it was me and Henry, and we're like, slide up this drain. There's a bowl. You slide up the bowl, and it's just a pinch between a cut and that bowl. Just pinches down to like 20 yards between where they put the slash, and it drops off into that bowl. So we're like sneaking in, and we're maybe 100, 150 yards from where we want to set up. And I can see the top of the ridge. I just see a doe. I'm like, stop, sit. I'm watching this doe to the right, and Henry's looking to the left. He's like, oh yeah, there she is. And I'm like, that's a different deer. And I turned, and it's a giant buck, like 150-inch buck. And he just comes right across the ridge, walks the same trail of the buck that I killed. I'm like, all right, so I've been here twice and haven't been in this stand setup. And both deer that I came in here to kill ran through. So we sit the rest of the day, see a doe, I think, and then roll right back in there in the morning. And it was just like your picture perfect rut hunt. Saw a doe right off the bat, and then a beautiful 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old, a 1.5-year-old buck, and then the one I ended up killing rolled through and shot him. And what was cool about that was Steve runs all of the trail cameras. And he got pictures of that buck like 1.5 miles away that morning. So it was just like.
So he moved 1.5 miles in daylight on October 25th. Cruising. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And there was definitely a hot doe in there. So when we went in to get him out, there's that big one that we saw the day before, and 3 other bucks Steve and his cousin ran into walking in to help us get that buck out. So it was just one of those right place, right time, right situation. I mean, that's kind of that time of the year, right?
Yeah.
If you get on one that's hot, it's absolute craziness because there's very few that are.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Yeah.
So
Seems like that part of the
That
world
hunt.
too is better, like than New England in late
Yeah.
October, like Western New York, PA, even into like the Midwest. That's what I feel like, because I mean, I don't. I will say this year, late October, and when I say late, it was like the last few days, but late October was better in the first few days of November in New England than I have remembered it. But usually, it's like doesn't get good till maybe the second.
But I feel like
week or
even
third week.
everything was a little earlier. Like Steve even said that. He's like, it just seemed like
Yeah.
everything was kind of early.
Yeah.
And
I don't know
the thing with
what
this
that is.
fall is we had crazy good fronts, like over and over and again. It wasn't like
Yeah, fronts. Yeah. We did.
Yeah, they were just consistent.
Yep. No, we had them even in, like, I remember early to mid-October we had good fronts too.
Yeah.
Like, well, did you kill on the front? I can't remember. In New York, or was it just kind of
it wasn't
nothing crazy?
It wasn't crazy, but it wasn't like hot.
Yeah.
Like I remember the year before when I was editing that video, it was like I think almost 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And then this year it was like highs in the mid 60s.
Right.
Yeah, there was definitely good weather in October.
So it was like
Yeah.
what you would expect to be
Right.
normal.
Yep. So then after PA, who shot? What was early November? Was there much the first week? I'm trying to remember. Who else?
Ross and I sat in the swamp a few times.
Didn't kill.
see
Didn't
anything.
see.
Saw
You
big
guys went
moose, but-
to Alberta pretty early.
What's that?
Yeah, Alberta, I guess. So that was, but that
That
yeah, it
would've
was
been
kind
the
of.
next.
So Steve killed the 10th, I think, or the 9th, and then I killed the 16th.
Yeah, he
but,
killed the 10th.
but did anybody kill that first week, or do we have any? I can't remember. I know Kyle and Cody had some good hunts on public in New York. I know Eric had some encounters.
I hunted Ohio.
Oh, you had some good encounters too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Had really good encounters in Ohio. About as good as you can get without killing one.
Yeah. If you think about, I guess we can keep going through it. So then Steve killed a giant in Ohio first, or Alberta the first night. By the way, we got that deer was 6.5. We got the results back
Was he?
from Deerage. Yep. And that deer was like 178 inches, or it's just freaking awesome. Can't get a buck. And then I killed in the 16th, and I got the teeth back on that one as well. And that one was 3.5, so I was wrong on that one. And that's the first.
Was he?
Yeah, it's the first. First 3-year-old I've killed probably since I killed that velvet deer in Montana in 2000. That was on Midwest Whitetail, so we're talking.
That was 2014.
2014, yeah. So 10 years. And I was just wrong on that deer. We all thought he was older than that.
Keith's going to spank you when you go back up
Yeah, he
there.
is. I know he's gonna. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it wasn't a. It's right there actually. I mean, I could grab it, but or you can watch the video. But yeah, I just thought it was an older deer that maybe just wasn't going to be a whole lot of anything antler wise, and there was far superior deer on the farm. I mean, I know I just saw one comment on that video. It's like, you passed bigger deer than that. I'm like, yeah, I did for sure. And those were deer that I didn't want to shoot because I felt like in another year or two there would have been, the Steve type of deer that people dream about, right?
Right.
And I'd rather shoot a deer that's just a, okay 8-pointer that's mature than shoot that 4-year-old, pushing 150 deer that's going to be a, Boone and Crockett deer in a year or two. I don't want to. That's not the deer I want to remove from the area. But just so happens that I was wrong on the age, and I don't know that deer would have been like a giant, but he definitely would have been bigger than he was when I shot him at the 3. So, he probably could have turned into something. But, we do our best to judge age, and at the end of the day, like, it was a fun hunt, and we hunted pretty hard. We hunted for I think I killed him on day 6 or 7, day 7. Yeah, last day. So, it is what it is, and I'm not upset about it at all. It was a nice buck, and some of that footage was pretty awesome too. Just like the lighting, you could actually see the bullet flying through the air. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then who was next after that? Kyle, maybe?
Cody killed one
Oh, that's right.
that
With a bow.
people may see, they may never
not.
see.
Yeah, it was a rainy GoPro.
Because it was
deal.
pouring rain. And
Yeah, self-filmed. One of the rough ones.
That was a pretty cool hunt.
Yeah, the reaction was pretty funny.
Saw there was a hot doe, slid in with his saddle, climbed up a tree and shot him like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Rattled and shot him in 10 minutes.
It can happen like that.
Yeah. Especially when you're not filming the right way.
Then I guess it would have been you
like
again, right?
What's that?
Would have been you again?
Yeah, the 16th.
Oh, you were the 16th. Oh, you're the same day as me.
Yeah.
No shit. That's right. Opening day of rifle. That was a freaking good deer, too.
Yeah, that was such a cool hunt.
And that's that was during your deer camp, opening day rifle deer camp. And that's got to be the best one you guys have killed since you've been doing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't kill very many bucks. We don't kill very many deer. We kill a lot of things if you switch the D with B in deer. It's just a fun time that my cousin comes up. We have my buddy's family farm, and that buck actually was one that I didn't shoot the year before because I was worried about the footage, and he didn't grow really at all. And that hunt was just like, I don't know. We saw probably 15 deer in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was just a super windy day. We waited to slide in there until first light and just like kind of kept creeping down into this bottom until eventually we ran into deer, just still hunting down in there. And he was just running other bucks off. We never could see him. We just kept seeing flashes, and we actually could smell them down in there. Just the way the wind was coming up, and I mean, who knows how long he had been down in there. And then I ended up seeing him, and he moved off, and then eventually gave me a shot, and shot him with the 7 PRC. And that was sweet. That was a big deer for right around there. I mean, he's actually right there.
No shit. Yeah. That's so funny. I've hunted that area in college, that same town more or less, and that is a very good deer for that area. I can attest to that because I've literally hunted in that same town back in the day before I knew you, John. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then so now you got 3 under your belt, all awesome Northeast mature deer, which is pretty wild. In what, 3 days of hunting? Yeah. 4 days hunting?
Yeah, I think I hunted in New York like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I hunted about 1,000 hours before that. Yeah. Before this season.
That's how it can go, though. I just think things start to add up and snowball. Then Kyle killed a buck, I believe.
Kyle killed.
New place in New York.
I think that
Kyle killed the 24th.
What's that? His is the 24th, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it would have been me and Ross then on the 30th next.
Yeah.
That was just a cool hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch it, just 4 years of following a deer and just putting it all together and getting some fresh tracking snow. That's all it took. And that was cool.
I mean, you guys haven't really tracked up in there since you killed Strawman, right? In 19?
No, not really. We really haven't tracked there. It's probably been since I killed Strawman tracking there in 2019. Then. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if you know what? One time Ross and I did a couple days somewhere in the middle there. but we just I don't know what it was. We had good snow, but like we just weren't cutting. Like the deer weren't laying tracks. We did like 8 miles and didn't even cut it like a mature buck track. And I was also looking for a specific one there too, so it made it a little harder. But yeah, we just I don't know. We've tracked other places, Adirondacks, Mass, but yeah, we just haven't. And it's a conditions things. And like I love to track, and I think it's awesome. But I'm not like a guy that's like, just a tracker, and I'm gonna like wait to track and like I'm chasing snow. That's just not how I'm gonna be. Maybe I will if I have nothing else going on. I'll chase snow. We did that for a couple years back in the Adirondacks. That was really fun. It was like you, me, and Ross did it. I think Winches. Steve came with us. Zach came. Like that was really fun. But that's not something like we do every year, and it's just the conditions lent itself to that. And I knew where that deer was hanging out, and a couple other deer. I didn't even know what deer it was when I shot him until I got up to him. I knew could have been any deer really, but I knew it was probably one of like a couple different deer. But yeah, that was just knowing where to start and where to find him, and just having the intel from years and years. And it had been like a week since I had got a picture of that deer. So I wasn't exactly sure. I just assumed he was in that area. It's just kind of where he seemed to be. And it was also
I think that reaction when you killed him and didn't know and then saw and then realized it.
Yeah, no, it was
probably one of the coolest moments on film that we've
it was like weird. Well, he was kind of busted up, and it like just made him look a little bit different because he was broken up. That I just didn't immediately recognize him, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's the one. That's the buck I was trying to kill this year." Not like, "Oh shit, we just killed him." Yeah, it was pretty cool to like have that like epiphany there, and I was like, "Oh," and then it was like kind of like, "Oh, we just tracked this buck down in like an hour. We shot him in his freaking bed, and it's the buck I'm after." It's like, I mean, it can't really get any better than that. Yeah,
which you don't get when you track.
No, usually don't.
Ross and I had a little bit of a different
experience. We put out.
Conversely, Matt and Ross had the opposite experience. But that, I was just texting a buddy tonight, and he was telling me he said, "Yeah, I had a Ross hunt this year in Maine." That happens, though. There's just part of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're tracking, you have to make split-second decisions. Most of the time, it's like pretty thick, and you see antler and brown, and you're either pulling the trigger or you're probably going home without a deer. So you got to just make that decision pretty quick to shoot. And sometimes,
you know, 3 bucks in a thick bottom, and they're all running back and forth, and one of them finally stops.
Yeah, and you don't know there's 3.
And I think there's something to be said too. Like we've gotten some comments where it's like, "Oh, just be happy about it," and he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's nothing. That's still a great accomplishment. It was a fun hunt and everything like that. And people, obviously, you're trying to shoot a big buck, right?
Well, yeah, there's going to be some level of surprise and disappointment because that's just natural. It's like anything. It's more of a surprise than like being let down or anything like that. It's just like, oh, that wasn't exactly what I thought it was, you know? But, I mean, Matt was there. I'm sure he could attest that. Ross gets fired up when he shoots a doe. Yeah.
So, like, there's no level of Ross that's not excited when he pulls the trigger of a gun.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's okay to want to shoot big deer. It's okay to mess up and not shoot the deer after, and it's okay to feel the way that you feel about it. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, he had a great hunt, and he got meat, and he got to pull the trigger, and Ross likes to pull the trigger. So, like, yeah, he's fine. Now, what he was trying to do? No. But, like, whatever. It happens. Like, it's part of it, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think – it's just weird to me that some people, like, try to tell you how you should feel or how you should – it's like, dude, like, I'm my own person. I'm in this situation that's unique. And, like, I'm going to feel the way that I feel. And, like, I don't need to apologize for that. And I don't even think it's not like Ross was like mother effing, like, or anything like that. Like, he wasn't. It's just like, oh, well, that's not what I want, or what I came here for, but it's what we got. So, yeah, it's nothing wrong with it, and it happens. Still fun.
And then Chris.
Yeah, then Chris
shot that.
And just crunches up on that
Weird.
and shoots that deer.
Did he send the teeth in on that buck?
Yeah, it was 4-year-old.
4?
Yep. 4.5. Pretty cool.
You just had a gray face.
Yeah,
on that deer. It was just kind of
just color.
Interesting.
Oh, this lefty was 7.5. That buck I killed. I did get the teeth back, so that's what I thought. But it's cool to know. Ross sent the teeth in, but they said he was too young to age, so they sent him back. I'm kidding. He didn't send the teeth in.
I gotta send all my teeth in still.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that. It's really fun to know.
Yeah.
How old they are, and it's not even about I got to shoot the oldest deer. I do enjoy that, but it's just cool to know, especially when you know a deer year to year, and you're kind of speculating at the beginning what he is, and that really, if you're off that first year, all these years later, you could be way off.
Right.
It's just interesting.
To kind of test yourself too of what you think.
Well, in that Canadian deer, I was pretty confident he was 4 or 5 when I shot him, but I was wrong. And the thing that was kind of eye-opening to me is that deer was dressed at 196 or 197 pounds as a 3-year-old. So it's it's a big animal, right? As a 3-year-old to dress nearly 200 pounds, I was like, okay, so they're just I know that they're bigger up there. I've shot them, I've hunted them, but I've never I don't know how much a 3-year-old weighs in Canada because I never shot a 3-year-old in Canada. I don't know, and half the time, actually, that's the first deer I've weighed up there.
That time of year too, it's a little different.
100%, yeah.
Than when you hunted them in the past.
So Steve's was, I think, I actually bought a scale for those guys because I didn't weigh deer, and I just was curious. These deer are so big, how big are they actually? That's what I wanted to know. So Steve's was 226 dressed, clean dressed. Which is pretty damn big, honestly. And so, it was interesting to see that a 3-year-old can nearly be 200 pounds dressed there. So they really are bigger in Canada, for sure. Confirmed.
Everything's bigger besides the meals they feed you.
The meals are huge, dude.
No, I'm not saying
at the Yuan Chucks, the meals are. There's so many of them.
Meals. First time I went to Canada, I got a chicken sandwich and I ate it in 2 bites.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this country doesn't want us to be fat.
Yep.
Because they would have to pay for us.
So Steve or Chris, and then I think Kyle. No, Kyle was before that, I guess. Chris's must have been the last day. Then it went into December. Did we kill? What got killed in December? Anything?
A lot of does.
A lot of does. That's right. Doe fest.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us shot a buck in December. Did we?
Cody shot Muzzy buck.
Oh, the Muzzy buck. That's
December?
right. Yep. That's right. That was December.
Yeah, that was the end of December.
Was that holiday?
The week after Doe Fest.
Oh, okay. So it was the actual muzzleloader season. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, those are a freaking blast.
I don't like. I have no problem with deer drives. I just don't like to participate in them. So that's one I do not do. But I do love Doe Fest. It's very fun. I've tried deer drives. I don't know. It's just, they're just not for me. I don't know. Something about them just.
I said,
I know. I get nothing. I know you love them, and I know everybody. Lots of people.
I think it's more of the camaraderie aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I think too, a big part of it is, when I was growing up, we did them all the time.
Yeah. See, I didn't really grow up doing them.
You grew up more bow hunting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas when I think of deer drives, I think of my childhood, a bunch of buddies just having fun, stress-free, seeing deer. If you look at it from a deer's perspective, it's pretty screwed up.
Well, I think at the end of the day, anything we do to those deer is pretty screwed up
Right.
if you look at it. But
Right.
yeah, no. I mean, you know, some people, I got no problem with it. Like, it's a very effective
think
way.
at the
There's
end
lots
of
of
the day-
tradition. Lots of tradition.
Yeah, tradition. Get
Like-
out and hunt how you want to hunt legally and enjoy it.
Yeah, I got no problem with it. Like
You
I said,
know,
I just
like-
something about it stresses me. I don't know what it is. It's just like I don't know.
That experience you were telling me about the other day.
Yeah.
Which one's this? Deer drive experience?
No, the guy with the gun going off.
Oh God, yeah. No, but like it's stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. Like a bunch of hunters
You have to
and
have the right crew.
gun seat. It's not. Yeah, and it's not like I have them with the right crew. It's just I don't know, something about it's just like it's just not my favorite thing to do. And I've done them. I did it a couple of years ago with you guys. That same. I don't know if it was muzzy drives, but you know, I just feel like
No, we were using rifles.
yeah, we were even scared.
That's when Jake
That's right.
nicked that one that we ended up killing in the muzzy drives.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem I have with hunting is when somebody rolls out to Ohio and dumps out a bunch of corn and shoots.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. It's not fun at all. Yep. That was the end of the season, I guess. That was like
Yeah.
how many days ago? Not many. What's today? Thursday? So that
3,
was
4.
Sunday, yeah. Yeah, I killed this one late season with a bow. A pretty sweet buck. I was telling Matt, this is my biggest antlered United States buck, which is kind of crazy.
Is he bigger than your other Ohio buck?
Yeah, it's bigger than there's my three biggest are in front of me there. Those three in the middle, and he is bigger than all of them.
Yeah, those extra couple points probably.
Oh yeah.
Put him over the edge.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean that G2 is 13 inches. Yeah, it's a sweet buck. I was pretty fired up, right, Matt?
Yeah.
He looked just freaking huge coming in too, especially with that side. Just like, oh my God, yeah, he was big.
Yeah.
That was an interesting hunt. Like I said, it was a bait deal, which is obviously legal in Ohio.
It's always nice when the deer that you go there to
Yeah,
kill.
yeah, I
You
was
shoot one that's even bigger.
going there to hunt a really nice 9-pointer, and then that thing showed up, and just got, I guess, lucky enough to have him come through the area and come back in that night, and it was just like perfect. I don't know. I'm surprised. It's funny because I hunted Ohio for like pretty hard with Ross for how many years? 2009 until 2015, or 2015. I think I killed that 9-pointer there.
It was the year you killed your Iowa buck,
Yeah,
so it would have been
15, and then I hunted it but we were going at it hard those years. We killed, so it was like
We killed one together in 21.
right, but before that I had hunted so hard, we had leases and we had all this stuff and we were doing all this crazy stuff, and I killed. There's 4 here in front of me that I killed, and then since then it's like, and it is what it is, but like I've been focusing on the Northeast during November and hunting around home, and so I started hunting late season in Ohio because it's just like, I won't say it's an afterthought, but it kind of is like not my number one thing that I want to do now. And then like what I learned pretty quickly when I tried to hunt late season in Ohio is if you're not baiting and feeding deer, there's no deer for you to hunt on the properties you're on. And so I quickly decided, okay, well, if I'm going to be out here, I'm going to do it. And I have no problem with that. It's legal, and, it's a different type of hunt. And then I killed like that deer, and that deer that way during December. And that was cool, but like I just kind of, the gun, not that I won't do it again, but the gun and the bait, it's just kind of like, I don't want to say it makes it easy, but it's definitely they're the easiest mature bucks I've ever killed. I'll say it, it that way. And so I kind of decided this year if I was going to go back, because I got permission on a pretty good piece of property through family, that I was going to try to do it with a bow out of a tree at least, and not like 100 yards away in a box with a rifle. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, and I've done it multiple times, and I'll probably do it again. I don't know, at some point, but I wanted to kind of make the challenge more. And I will say that the difference between trying to do that with a gun and a box blind and at 20 yards with a bow in a tree stand, it's like night and day how much more difficult it is with a bow. It was actually I mean, you can say, Matt,
that was a stressful sit.
Yeah, it was just it's a different thing. You have to be freaking perfect with those deer. So yeah, I mean, was getting the deer to come and find bait a challenge? No, you dump out a feed or corn or whatever, and the deer finds it. But actually killing that deer with a bow is a different deal, out of it. So yeah,
when you're in hardwoods with no cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of deer coming, and they've been hunted for 4 months, and they know what a freaking bait pile is out there. They know what that is. That buck took 5 minutes to come in. He did this huge circle around us downwind. And if our setup wasn't perfect, if we didn't move, we didn't stay still and have a good setup in the tree, the whole thing, if we had busted all the deer before him that came in, he wouldn't. It was like a whole thing. So we had to play it pretty perfect, and I think we were pretty darn close. Obviously, it worked, but yeah, that is a stressful, challenging situation to believe. It sounds like I'm copping out saying that, but really it's not. I can tell you that, the challenge is not finding the deer. It's challenges like getting on the property that have that deer, and then, trying to execute that situation. And I think the video kind of explains that, the technical aspects of how to actually do that effectively, which, like I said, it's not that hard to freaking dump out feed and get a picture of a big buck, but to kill him with a bow late season at 18 yards in a high deer density area in the timber and a tree stand and the cold, that's a different thing. So yeah, it was, I really enjoyed it. I was pretty pumped up.
Do you think it's harder to kill a buck like that over bait than it is to kill a buck, say, in Iowa or Illinois or something like that in a rut funnel in November?
It's just so different. Yeah, so the actually act of arrowing the deer, it's way harder in this situation. Because, like I said, here's the difference. Here's the difference. A rutting buck and anywhere, honestly, even in New Hampshire, to kill a deer that's rutting with a gun is way easier than this. Because that deer he doesn't know you're in the world, right? So he's traveling from A to B. As long as your wind isn't blowing at him, you could probably get away with a lot of movement and even make sound and whatever. And even if the wind isn't perfect, sometimes they're just going to blow through it because they're so focused on something else. These deer, it's almost like a turkey. They're calling it a turkey. They're coming in looking for you because they expect danger around these sites. So your hide, your wind, your movement has to be perfect because that buck is coming in expecting to see danger around a bait site. I don't know how old the deer is. We'll send them the teeth, but I assume he's at least 4, if not 5 or 6. And so, there's a lot of bait piles in Ohio and a lot of guys hunting over them. And I would say that most of them are maybe aren't hunting it perfect, with perfect entry and exit and winds and all that stuff. So those deer know that there's danger associated with those bait piles. So, and you've seen it, John, too, for sure. In Jersey, and I've just seen this over the years. Really, Ohio. I'm trying to think if there's another state really have hunted over bait. We used to be able in New Hampshire. I don't know if I actually.
Or Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah, I've done it in Kentucky. One time. I think I did one time in Kentucky, that early season hunt for that velvet deer.
Early, yeah.
And that's another thing. That I don't know if you remember, that deer came in and we had popped up a blind right there, and he just fucking looked at the blind and was like, "Nah, I'm not going over there." Like like I bet you if he was just walking by, he wouldn't have paid attention.
And
But the
that's
thing
September.
is, what's that? That's
September before they've been hunted for 3 months.
It's almost like the difference between you walking into your house on a normal day after work and then you walk into your house when you think someone's in there that broke into your house. Like, think about your mindset and how different that is. Like, you're paying attention to every detail, every smell, sound, like, everything. And so that's the difference, I guess. So,
well, you can even see when that deer is coming in, like, his ears are boom, 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 boom. Even the doe fawn that came in before then was so sketched out.
That's what
from
I'm saying.
The Tweety birds.
It's so stressful. Like it's
yeah.
And when you can sit in a box blind 100 yards away, it's not, because you're not in the same world as them. It's just a different thing. It's actually almost more enjoyable, the hunt itself. But Matt and I sat there for how many hours? 4 hours, something like that, at least.
Yeah, we got to the tree at 1, killed him at 5:30.
Okay, I think we said like 5 words to each other the whole night, and I stood the whole night, and he stood the whole night, and we couldn't move. Like, we were just like.
And we still got picked off by a 2-year-old.
Yeah, we did. We did get picked off once too, and I don't even know. I think he just was looking up in trees coming in, because that's like what they're. I mean, remember the doe came in before us, and she spooked, and we were not moving. We're hidden good, and she just went like, and we were like, and then she just like ran off 10 yards and stopped. So it wasn't like she was like a hard spook, but like they're just nervous and they're paying attention because they know, Yeah, it's
And as skinny as that deer was, he was in no rush to get to food.
No, he took his time, and he thought he had fully, checked it out and scoped it out and cleared that whole area. He in his head,
you could tell too, because right when he got to it, he just buried his face in it.
Yeah, he was
like he didn't look around or anything. He was just like, "I'm good."
Yep, he'd already cleared it in his head. But like, that's the thing, is like he did so many checks, and we had to pass every one of them. And it was like from literally our access to the stand, getting in clean, to the wind, to our scent, like going in. Like, I bet you if we had cut our fresh track, he would have freaking got out of there. Like even if it was 4 hours old, I don't think he would have stood for it. To the other deer, like another buck came in with him, and he let that other buck go in there first, and he circled and watched that whole thing. Like, he watched that other buck and walked down there. So it was, it's that's honestly, like, I think getting a deer killed in Canada is really tough because it's so quiet. But like, I think that's probably just as hard there in that situation. So yeah, you got to be. It makes you a better bow hunter, and like know when to move and when to draw, and like, because a lot of times I'll hang in like wide open trees. In different situations. You aren't getting away with that in, this.
Well, I think a lot of places in the Northeast, deer aren't looking up in trees.
No.
They're not seeing people. The people they're seeing are chasing them through the woods with rifles.
Yeah. So they're like, the actual like active, I think it's one of the hardest situations I've been in. Once again, it's not hard to get them to come to bait or to feed. Like, that's not the hard part.
If you're not there.
I fully acknowledge that. Yeah, exactly. If you're not there. But yeah, and that's why I was like, I want to do it that way if I'm going to do this. And it made it, my heart was pounding watching that deer. Like, oh my God, like just.
All you hear is heavy breathing for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
I think just in general too, watching deer being super edgy like that is going to make you a better hunter.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I actually thought that he was going to bust us at one point. And I don't know if it's on.
When he was way out on the ridge?
Well, the whole time that was, yeah. But did you see where he stopped and he was just like, sniffing.
Yeah.
He was trying. He was
Lip
doing.
curl, yeah.
He was doing the whole
Yeah.
thing. But no, right when he came in, I finally had a clear shot, and I was about to draw. He did this thing where he kind of like turned his head and looked, but that other buck had took a step or something happened, and he got like distracted, and so he went like, and then he like looked at, and I don't think Matt has it because I think he was going around the tree at that point. But I remember he like half looked up, and I just went, "Aw!" Like I'm like, "Oh, he got," and then he looked away. I'm like, "Oh, thank God!" And then I was able to draw. But I remember I was like, "Oh no!" After all this, he's like. So, and I thought he would maybe like that Doe did, just like jump out of there quick and go back, where he came. But anyway, yeah, that was awesome. It's great to make a good shot too and have him go down extremely quick. Actually, I think
How far did he end up going?
What's that?
How far did he end up going?
Maybe 100. He went to basically where we first saw him, which was like just up on the ridge, was probably 70 or 80 yards. Right as
he stopped for a bit. I thought he was going to tip over, and then he kind of
Then he tried to run off, but
he
he just lost it, and like he just slid down the ridge probably another like 20, 30 yards, like just snow plowed. So I think the last 30 yards or so were just him pretty much falling down the ridge. So yeah, he went down right at about 70, 80 yards. So it was sweet. Big freaking deer. I thought he was big. We only had the picture of him that morning, and I was like, that's a pretty damn good one. And yeah, he sure was.
Just cool.
Yeah.
That saw blade on the end of his beam.
Yeah. Got some teeth. So, John, for you, like, obviously, and for me too, but the most successful deer hunting season you've ever had. What do you think? Why do you think? What allowed that to happen? Was there something that was different this year for you, or like, what have you thought about that much? Or do you think it's just the luck of the draw, or
a little
what?
bit? I think I had less time to deer hunt this year with having baby and stuff.
Yep.
Makes you think about when you're actually going to hunt a little bit more, right? Instead of just hunting.
Yep.
I didn't feel. I kind of, not by choice, but because of having a newborn and stuff, I didn't cast out a super wide net.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I found that buck back, I didn't think about anything else. I didn't get pulled in any different directions in New York. It was just like, yep, that's my goal for the fall. I'm going to try to kill that buck. Where in years past, I feel like I've been pulled in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
Which last year I kind of shut that off. I feel like that's something I've been working on.
Yeah.
Is not getting caught in the whirlwind of cameras and like, oh, this buck was over here. It's just like hunting off of your experience and stuff like that. And then I don't know, I just like, it's hard for me to say because I didn't like hunt super hard to get the deer I got. So I never got to that point of being like stressed out about it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, like it's hard to really put a pin on it because I don't think I did anything different. I was just fortunate and didn't miss this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You shot better.
I mean, I shot
good enough. Yep. That's right. Did you? Never. Yeah. I'm not gonna say.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you hit any of those 3 deer where you're aiming?
Yeah.
The second one?
In the body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, dude, they all died like extremely quick. So
I mean,
regardless of what happened,
I'll take as much crap as people want to lay on, especially for that New York buck. I'll shoot a deer there every day of the week.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life. I mean, I shot that deer high shoulder through both lungs,
Yeah,
out the opposite shoulder.
it wasn't even that high though, really.
It wasn't.
I mean, it was
it was,
higher than you were trying to hit him, but it wasn't really that high.
Right.
It just, because the deer
And
dropped.
that deer was dead in
Yeah,
less than a minute.
yeah. Because that deer dropped, everybody thinks it's a bad shot. That doesn't necessarily mean that. Like, you can go through those shoulders with an arrow, hit the lungs, and still drop the deer. I did that in Canada with that velvet buck right there.
Right.
And you shoot them again because that's what you do until the deer is expired. You're not going to sit there and just let it.
I didn't have to shoot again.
No, exactly. Like, if that deer had run off, you wouldn't have had to shoot it again. It would have just died within a minute or two, and then.
And you wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing with bow hunting.
Right.
Is like you can shoot a deer in the guts.
Yeah.
Liver.
Yeah,
and you
say
never
straight liver,
see
right?
The process of them dying.
Yeah, straight liver. Goes off. Looks like a good shot. Everybody's fist pumping. Well, deer might live for 40 minutes before it dies. Sitting there,
Right.
I don't want to say suffering, but that's
or
the reality.
12 hours or 16 hours.
Yeah, you spine it, it goes down, you put another arrow in it within 10 seconds, and it's dead within 40, and that's a terrible thing, apparently. But the liver shot where the deer's laying there for 45 minutes is better or something? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because you don't see it.
Yeah, right.
So, my PA buck that I wish I made a better shot on it, that was a straight liver shot.
Yeah.
I was very unprepared for that situation because I was peeing.
Felt a little rushed, did you?
And I, made the shot happen, and I was fortunate to get a second shot, and on the second shot I pinwheeled him.
Yeah.
Once again, I wish I made a better shot on the first shot.
Was the first shot, didn't you kind of aim there though, right? You just kind of, you didn't.
Yeah. So I just rushed.
Yeah. You just didn't really.
Yeah. It was a perfect shot if he was broadside or quartered away.
Yeah.
I mean, right in the crease, right in the V there, he was just quartering two.
Yeah. And that's easy to do, is not recognize in the heat of the moment, like the angle of a deer. I think a lot of people do that.
I rushed a lot on that one. I mean, my back was completely to that deer when he was 40 yards away.
Yeah.
So from when he was 40 yards away, walking in, I was trying to tuck my pants back in.
Yeah.
Like, my belt was off and everything. And I had to turn around, grab my bow, and I was fumbling around with everything. I actually hit my release, and it went, clicked off, and I had to put it back onto the D loop. And this is all when the deer is, now he's at 25 yards. And it was just a very high stress situation.
Seems like,
it
seems to me like, because I a scenario like that. Okay, it's like when you think they're going to go a certain way, but they go a completely different way. It seems like that's when those things happen.
Things speed up on you for sure.
Yeah, and I think so. The one I think of is that buck I hit high late season in New Hampshire a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I didn't completely black out. I actually did have presence of mind. It's just that because things develop fast, you don't actually go through almost like your whole checklist and evaluation of the situation. You just make a decision based on what you're perceiving, and you have to do it quick. The one thing that I didn't think of is on that deer, and we can put that video in there potentially, but that deer ducked a ton.
So that deer hit the deck.
Yeah, and I my yardage was good. My left and right was good, and my shot broke really good actually too. And I knew I was going to have to shoot him walking, but in my head I was I had him at 22 yards, feeding, and when I was going to shoot him. And now I go from a 22-yard stationary to a 30-yard walking, but I had failed to go that, hey, that deer's relaxed and not alert. Now he's alert because you tried to stop him 3 times. It's like he's gonna duck, but I just was so
Right.
focused on like, oh, he's moving. I got to keep my pin on him and keep tracking, and pull through the shot. And then I just failed to say, yeah, also when he's gonna duck, so you got to aim lower. And I didn't do that part. It's like you're not as like, you don't think through it as much. And it's for you, it's like, oh, pin on the chest, good. Oh, I'm glad I even got to this point. And it's like, you didn't, take
Right.
the extra second to go, oh yeah, and he's quartering too hard, so I have to, adjust for that. And I just think that's like, you just miss some of those details when you're rushed and things don't go like how you thought they were gonna, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
hard.
That deer was interesting too, because I didn't hit guts at all on that first shot.
Did it go below
Like
him
it-
maybe?
Yeah, it was like straight liver,
His reaction was
no
strange.
guts at all.
Yeah.
What's that?
His reaction was strange.
Yeah, I feel like there's a good chance he was going to die right there anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Yeah, it was just, I had like a window when we got up in the saddles. I was like, I looked at this beech tree. I was like, that freaking beech tree is going to screw us. But this is the tree we need to be in. I can't cut anything. And there's like a 15-yard window that they were moving through where my shots were. So, yeah, it was just a high-stress situation. I mean, even my New York buck was a crazy high-stress situation. But I had that time of, like, we heard him
Yeah.
way up on the ridge. We knew he was coming. I didn't see him and know it was that buck until he was 35 yards. But, like, I knew it was that buck in my mind.
Yeah.
So, like, I kind of, like, was able to, like, I sent you the video before where I was going to shoot that buck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I shot him. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, that whole day, that whole sit, I'm like, this is how this is going to play out. This is how it'll play out. Where that hunt was just, like, a completely not familiar with it.
Yeah.
I've had deer come from every direction. And it was just.
I think when you're
odd.
mentally prepared for the situation, it becomes a lot easier. Like, the buck I killed in New York, I shot. It was pretty far. It was 48 yards, I think. But I knew going in that my shots were going to be like 30 to 50 yards, like just because of the setup.
Right.
And like I knew that like, okay, this is going to be a little further. I remember I went out and I like literally shot from like 30 to 60, and I was really just drilling 50 and 60 yards, like just because I knew it was going to be there, and I'm like, I have to be prepared. So like when I got that 48 yarder, there was no hesitation. I've shot like 50 arrows before this, like I know I'm going to make this, and it was a great shot. But like had it been like, for example, like I'm set up on a scrape at 15 yards, and then something weird happens, and like the deer, and I probably wouldn't shoot in this situation, but if the deer runs out, it spooks at the scrape and it runs out to 40 yards and standing there, well, now that's a infinitely like harder shot to make, because in your mind, you're going to get a 15, 20-yard shot at a scrape, and now you're shooting at 48 yards. You know what I mean? Whereas this, I didn't think I was going to get that shot. I was like prepared mentally to make that, and it happened that way. So it was seemingly easy in my mind just to execute it, because I'd already done it before in my head and I was ready for it. So, it's all about like your mindset and like your mental preparation. And there's just some things that you can't prepare for mentally, like you're taking a pee and have to swing around quick and make just stuff like that, like rush shots. I think
The
I
pee
think you
thing
can.
is such a.
What's that?
The pee thing is so annoying.
I know.
'Cause every time you have to pee in a tree stand, you're like, everybody knows. In your back of your mind, you're like, man, I gotta pee. But there's a chance a buck's gonna come in when I'm peeing.
Yeah,
Like every time you pee.
I got one right there that came in when I was peeing.
Yeah. I still think part of it is like
The sound.
that buck they may have heard it and he may have walked right into that.
Yeah,
I mean, what's a doe and heat doing?
yeah,
Dry leaves in October.
yeah.
Makes me nervous every time I pee now. but also I kind of want to try to do it for good luck.
Yeah. Overall, the seasons were great for most of us. I don't know. I guess, Eric and Ethan maybe didn't have the best season, but they were on deer. Just, didn't really go and killed. But,
yeah, that seems like how it kind of flows there. Like they're going to have those seasons and then.
Yeah.
But like I talked to Eric and he's like, I got more deer that made it through this year than I ever had before.
Well, and part of it too is like they kind of like have all their eggs in one basket to an extent with deer hunting because they're only really hunting New York, on the properties that they have.
Right.
So like if it's just a kind of an all or nothing scenario where it's like you or me are hunting several different states and areas. So like, I could have like a bad year in whatever state, Alberta, but New Hampshire could be great, vice versa. So it's just the nature of it. I mean, I've definitely had years before in particular states that was the only state I'd hunting, I would have had it, I wouldn't have killed anything. So, which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just part of it. And so how many bucks did we kill? I know you figured this out.
On film, I think we killed like 13.
13 bucks.
Which is pretty wild.
That's crazy. Like I said, to kind of bring it full circle, to go back to the original days when I thought would be lucky to kill maybe a buck or two on video, and here we are killing 13 bucks. And they weren't all Northeast bucks. So,
well, yeah,
most of them.
All but 3 of them.
All but 3, yeah.
If you consider Pennsylvania the Northeast.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I draw the line. I know some people think Ohio is part of the East. I'm of the camp that it's in the Midwest, but that's fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. But so yeah, I consider like the East or Northeast like basically Jersey, PA, and up to the Northeast. Unless I'm hunting turkeys, then Jersey can get lost. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty good year. And the cool thing is we have some hunts too that we held back that we're going to show next summer and kind of tell a different type of story on them, I think. Or just basically do them the justice that they should have and tell them the way we want to tell them, a little bit different style.
Yeah, that's a hard thing with doing stuff during the season. You get these hunts that play out where it's pretty easy to put together pretty quick, and then you get one like your New York buck, and it's like, man, if we throw this out quick, people don't see the
well, in those hunts too, like
that went into it.
Those hunts too, I always say like the hunts are awesome, but they're just like the end of the story because like really that hunt begins a year plus before, and it's like a big long process to put yourself in the situation where you can have that experience and that hunt with that deer. Because if Kyle and I don't do all the stuff that we do over a year and a half, that doesn't happen. That's not something that's going to happen for us. Like we can't just go out and have that. Right. You know what I mean? So it's so much goes into it. So just to show the hunt, it's kind of like, and the hunt's going to be cool. Like there's a lot of action and the footage is awesome. But like, rolling into a farm and just like climbing into a redneck blind or a box blind and, shooting a deer the first night. It's just not not much to that really.
Yeah, it doesn't give it justice.
No, but to show the whole story and how it's just a different side of hunting does. And I really enjoy that. It's super rewarding to me, that side of hunting. And I like to have that contrast, between that and then like, a mountain deer on public land, like, which is just a whole different deal. So, or a freaking giant buck in Ohio over a pile of corn with a bow, whatever. Like, I just love to hunt, or a box, I don't care. Like, I just like to have these experiences in these different places, and that's what I enjoy. Right. So we'll have some of those longer, different, experiences and stories that I outlined there this summer, and hopefully people enjoy those as well. But I think that's going to wrap the first one. I know for this platform, I know we touched on it before, but it's really more of an informational type platform for us. The regular Just Hunt Club YouTube channel is more entertainment, storytelling, action. We try to mix in some technique and information, But really, this is going to be the platform for that, where we can share what we've learned. We can talk about techniques and gear, and planning hunts, different areas, and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that hopefully we can explain a little better than we do in a YouTube video. And we have plans for this that we think are going to be good and is going to be beneficial to people, and hopefully we can convey some of the information and some of our techniques and stuff that we've learned, spending all these hours and all these years in the woods or all around the country.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, we want to hear from you guys.
Right.
So if you have questions, podcast ideas, drop them in the comments below. You can always shoot us a message over at our website, JUSTHUNTCLUB.com. There's a tab there where you can send us an email. Give us some ideas, give us some feedback. Let us know if we're doing a good job.
Yep.
This is for you all, so we want to cater to your needs. As we move forward through it, we're going to bring up more current events, maybe some cruising through the comments, answering some of those questions. So we want you guys to be as involved as possible. So this is something that's beneficial for everybody that's watching and listening.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear from you. Please let us know how we can do better, what you want to hear about, learn about. Maybe there's something in the video that you're like, hey, you guys showed this, and we didn't really understand what was going on there. Can you explain that particular situation or break it down a little better? We'd love to do that for you, but we want to know what you're interested in. So let us know. Comment here. Let us know. And, we will see you on the next one. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Give us your feedback. And episode 2 will be coming next week.